So imagine you're putting down a 20% deposit on a multi-million dirham beachfront home.
Okay.
You sign the papers, you do the wire transfer, and then, you just wait.
Yeah, for a very long time.
Exactly. Because the home you just bought, it won't actually exist for another 4 years.
Right. Handing over in September 2030.
And not only that, but the island it sits on is it's still actively being shaped and terraformed out in the Arabian Gulf as we speak.
It's a massive undertaking.
It really is. So today we're doing a deep dive into exactly why buyers are making that specific, highly calculated bet.
Because it is a fascinating scenario, honestly. It completely strips away that immediate gratification that usually drives luxury real estate.
Yeah, you aren't buying a finished physical asset you can just walk into tomorrow.
No, you're buying into a heavily structured long-term timeline.
Yeah.
And that requires a completely different analytical framework.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. Our mission today is an exclusive, highly analytical breakdown of Palm Central private residences.
By Nakheel.
Yes, a newly announced project by the developer Nakheel, located on Palm Jebel Ali in Dubai. And we have a very specific stack of source material in front of us to do this.
We really do. We aren't just looking at, the official project brochure and the glossy renderings.
Right. We have the exact starting prices in AED, the highly specific bifurcated payment plans, and a comprehensive breakdown of the material board.
Which is crucial.
Yeah.
Because our objective here is to evaluate this objectively. The real estate market in Dubai is, well, it's often characterized by overwhelming marketing volume.
Oh, for sure. Lots of noise.
Exactly. So we are putting that aside to look at the geometry of the architecture, the spatial logic of the lifestyle ecosystem, and the financial engineering behind the payment plans.
And, of course, the sober reality of the long-term investment case. We need to understand what this project actually represents, not just what it sells.
Right.
So, whether you are evaluating a major lifestyle change or looking for a long-term family residence, or, maybe you're just fascinated by how city-scale mega projects are conceived, this deep dive will give you the clear-eyed details.
No hype, no unverified claims, just the mechanics of the development.
Which is really the only way to approach a master plan development of this magnitude.
Yeah, you have to start with the geography before you can even begin to understand the floor plans.
And that geography is exactly what I want to tackle first.
Good place to start.
Before we get into the price tags or the interior materials, we have to look at the ground these buildings are going to stand on.
Right.
What exactly is Palm Jebel Ali, and why does this specific location matter in the broader context of Dubai's expansion?
So to understand Palm Jebel Ali, you really have to recognize the macro shift in Dubai's waterfront master developments.
Okay.
Palm Jebel Ali is it's a city-scale island destination. It's rising from the Arabian Gulf, located off the coast of Dubai.
And this is Nakheel we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. This is a massive undertaking by Nakheel. The master plan envisions a completely new island realm.
Wow.
Yeah, where lush landscapes meet azure waters. It's designed to integrate world-class hotels, exceptional lifestyle experiences, and refined residential components into a single, cohesive geography.
When you say city scale, that isn't just a metaphor. We are talking about foundational urban infrastructure here.
Literally building a new municipality on the water.
Right, but Palm Central Private Residences isn't just placed arbitrarily on this island.
No, not at all.
It occupies a very specific zone in the master plan, right?
Yes, the urban planning theory here is really crucial. Palm Central is situated along what is known as the spine of Palm Jebel Ali.
The spine, I assume that means like the central axis of the island.
Correct. In island master planning, you typically have residential fronds, which are essentially just cul-de-sacs on the water, and then you have the central axis. The spine is that vibrant central axis. If you examine the master plan, this core artery is lined with community centers, mosques, vast parks, wellness hubs, and, various leisure venues.
So by placing Palm Central directly on the spine, the developer is prioritizing immediate access to the island's core infrastructure.
Exactly. It's all right there.
Okay, I have to challenge that premise for a second. Because when I hear central axis and island in the same sentence, my mind immediately jumps to a traffic nightmare.
Right, that's the natural assumption.
Yeah, if the spine is where all the community centers, the parks, and the hospitality venues are, isn't that just a recipe for gridlock?
It's the most logical concern when you look at legacy island developments, for sure.
Right. If there's one main trunk road in and out, aren't residents going to be trapped in commuter traffic every single morning?
Well, if we analyze the broader geographic positioning of Palm Jebel Ali, The reality of the traffic flow is actually quite different.
How so?
The strategic positioning of this entire master development is its strongest asset. Instead of funneling traffic into the middle of dense, existing urban corridors, this location is situated perfectly.
Perfectly in what way?
It's situated south of the most congested traffic flows of central Dubai.
Okay, south of the congestion.
Yes, it is away from the main congested routes of central Dubai. The historical density of the downtown core, or the older coastal developments, that's what creates significant daily friction.
Oh, I see. So because it's further down the coast, you avoid all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Palm Jebel Ali allows residents to tap directly into the city's major highway networks without having to navigate that historical density just to get home.
So you are saying that because it's further south, it bypasses the traditional gridlock entirely. Let's actually test that theory with the concrete numbers provided in our sources.
Let's hear them.
We have the exact travel times from the developer's geographic analysis. From Palm Central, you are looking at 23 minutes to Blue Waters Island. You are 25 minutes to DWC Airport, 27 minutes to Mall of the Emirates, 28 minutes to Palm Jumeirah, 30 minutes to Burj Al Arab, and 40 minutes to DXB Airport.
Right.
Now, honestly, are these realistic times? Or is this the classic developer trick of measuring driving time at like 3 in the morning on a Sunday?
Well, even if we account for standard daily variance, the metrics are highly strategic. I want you to look specifically at the 25-minute drive to DWC Airport.
Al Maktoum International Airport.
Exactly. That is not just a point of interest. That is the future center of gravity for Dubai's global connectivity. DWC is undergoing a massive expansion.
Right, it's going to be huge.
So the fact that Palm Central is 25 minutes from DWC, but 40 minutes from the legacy DXB Airport, that perfectly illustrates the southward shift of the city.
That actually makes perfect sense. It's not about how fast you can get to the old center of town. It's about being strategically positioned near the future economic hubs.
Precisely. You are 25 minutes from the massive new aviation hub, but you are isolated from the daily congestion of the old commercial districts.
And you're away from the main congested routes of central Dubai.
Exactly. It demonstrates that the island is deeply connected to the emerging hubs of the city, while maintaining that crucial geographic separation. It's all about macro accessibility.
Okay, so the macro location is solid. We are south of the heavy traffic. We are on the central spine of a massive new island, and we have the connectivity numbers to back it up.
Yes.
Let's shift our focus from the geography to the actual physical structure.
Let's do it.
The developer, Nakheel, is using a very specific slogan for this project. The brochure says, "A calm called home."
A calm called home. It's a fascinating choice of phrasing because it really dictates the entire philosophical approach to the architecture.
How so?
If we dissect that slogan, it is deliberately positioning the residence not as a temporary escape or, a weekend retreat.
Right.
It's positioning it as a tranquility you can genuinely call your foundation. It's the baseline reality you return to.
And in a market that usually sells hyperstimulation, the tallest, the fastest, the most opulent selling calm is a very deliberate counter-programming strategy.
It absolutely is.
But how do you actually enforce calm in a major real estate development? I mean, at a certain density, calm is mathematically impossible.
That's a very good point.
If you have 1,000 people sharing a lobby, it's a transit hub, not a sanctuary,
Which brings us to arguably the most critical metric of the entire project, the scale.
Okay, lay it on me.
Within this massive city-scale development of Palm Jebel Ali, Palm Central maintains a strictly boutique format.
Boutique format on a mega island.
Yes. It features exactly 222 residences spread across 3 distinct buildings.
Wait, 222 units across 3 buildings?
Yeah.
That changes the entire dynamic of the property.
It alters the spatial math completely. In the context of Dubai mega projects, 222 units across 3 separate structures is remarkably low density.
I would say so, yeah.
It means the ratio of shared space to individual resident is exceptionally high. You aren't sharing an elevator bank with a massive transient population.
Right, the footprint of the building is highly controlled.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that footprint and the architecture itself. Looking at the renderings from the brochure, these buildings have a very distinct geometric profile.
They do.
They are not the standard flat glass extrusions we see everywhere else. The developer describes it as stepped architecture.
Yes, stepped architecture.
What is the actual spatial logic behind a stepped building?
Stepped architecture, or terracing, is a highly functional design response to a waterfront environment.
Okay.
When an architect steps a building back as it rises, creating that tiered effect, it serves multiple critical purposes.
Like what?
Well, think about a traditional vertical tower. Balconies are stacked directly on top of each other like a filing cabinet.
Right, so the floor of the balcony above you acts like a heavy, dark lid over your outdoor space.
Precisely. It limits your vertical sightline and drastically reduces the amount of natural sunlight that can reach the interior of the apartment.
Oh, that makes sense.
By stepping the building back, the architecture purposefully opens each individual residence to uninterrupted sea and skyline views. You're removing that physical overhang.
It maximizes the exposure of the terraces to the sky. But it also does something else, doesn't it?
What's that?
If the building is stepped back, my neighbor above me is physically further away from the edge than I am.
Yes, that is the privacy component. This architectural rationale directly enhances vertical privacy because lines of sight between neighbors are mathematically minimized.
You aren't looking down onto someone's terrace as easily.
Right, and they aren't looming over yours. Furthermore, this geometry maximizes natural light penetration into the living spaces.
From sunrise to starlight.
Exactly. The connection to the landscape becomes immediate and unobstructed.
Looking at these exterior shots, the floor-to-ceiling glazing is just relentless.
It really is.
The sheer volume of glass completely blurs the boundary between the interior of the home and that coastal resort setting.
And there's a beautiful detail in the notes about how this works at night. The softly illuminated facade is designed to reflect across the water of the Arabian Gulf. It reveals a graceful form that blends with the coastline rather than dominating it.
Wow, so it's a brilliant execution of site-specific design.
It is. By utilizing extensive glazing and step terraces, the architecture defers to the natural environment.
And we are analyzing this strictly through the lens of spatial design, right?
Absolutely.
How the geometry manages the light, how the terraces extend the usable living area outward, and how the sightlines preserve crucial privacy. It is all about visual and spatial harmony.
Yes, and connection with the landscape.
And what I appreciate here is that the developer achieves this calm through geometry, light, and density, not through some magical, unverified engineering claim.
Right, no pseudoscience.
Exactly. We aren't seeing marketing material talking about, like, biological calm or wind shear manipulation or acoustic dampening fields. It's just incredibly thoughtful, human-centric spatial logic.
It's grounded in real architectural principles.
But a beautiful stepped exterior is only half the equation. If the concept is a calm called home, how does that philosophy translate when you actually turn the key and walk through the front door?
That's where we look at the unit mix and the interiors.
Let's break down the specific unit formats first.
The unit mix is highly tailored toward long-term usability. The project offers 1, 2, 3, and 4-bedroom apartments.
Okay, 1 to 4 bedrooms.
Yes, and within that mix, there are select units that include a dedicated maid's room.
Which is a critical logistical requirement for families in this region.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And at the absolute upper end of the spatial scale, they offer expansive 4- and 5-bedroom townhouses.
And I want to point out something very specific from our source deck. There is zero mention of penthouses.
Right. None.
We have apartments ranging up to 4 bedrooms, and we have 4- and 5-bedroom townhouses. No ultra-exclusive top-floor penthouses are listed at all. What does that omission tell you about the developer's intent?
It signals a focus on foundational community over top-heavy exclusivity.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Often, a penthouse dictates the entire marketing narrative of a building, right?
Oh, yeah. It's all about the penthouse record price.
Exactly. By focusing the premium formats on lower-level townhouses and large family apartments, the developer is reinforcing that this is a project built for daily, practical family living.
It's not just a trophy asset at the top of a tower.
No, it's a real home.
So let's step inside one of these large 3- or 4-bedroom family apartments. We have the comprehensive material board right here.
Yes, the material board is very telling.
How would you categorize the visual language of these interiors?
The overarching language is what the industry refers to as understated luxury.
Understated luxury.
Okay. If you examine the specific material specifications, there is a total absence of flashy, screaming opulence.
So no high-gloss gold fixtures.
No. You will not find overly dramatic, hyper-veined marbles that are just meant to show off wealth.
Thank goodness.
Instead, the entire aesthetic is deeply rooted in natural textures.
I'm looking at a rendering of a 3-bedroom kitchen and living space, and it perfectly illustrates your point. It's a massive open plan layout.
Yes, open plan is key here.
The kitchen features these stunning stone countertops and backsplashes, but the stone is a calm, natural, earthy tone.
Right, it's very muted.
And the joinery, the cabinetry, and woodwork is crafted with beautiful timber finishes. It looks durable, tactile, and completely timeless.
That tactility is the core of understated luxury. They are utilizing stone, timber, and glass in a way that provides a highly durable visual style.
And it carries through to the bathrooms too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Look closely at the bathroom finishes detailed in the material board.
Let me see. Okay, the vanity countertops.
Yes, the vanity countertops, the specific stone used for the bathroom accent walls.
Oh, the accent wall looks gorgeous.
And the main flooring that flows seamlessly into the wet areas and the bathroom flooring. The color palette revolves entirely around calm, earthy shades.
It reminds me of the shift we've seen in high-end automotive design or boutique fashion over the last decade.
How so?
True luxury doesn't need to shout with logos or blinding polished surfaces anymore.
Right, exactly.
When you use real timber and solid stone in calm shades, the materials speak for themselves. The luxury is found in the craftsmanship.
And how the natural light from those floor-to-ceiling windows hits those textures throughout the day.
Exactly. The interior design does not compete with the exterior view, it frames it.
That's a great way to describe it.
Hmm.
The open plan layouts allow the natural light to wash over the timber and stone, bringing the outside environment right into the home.
So the residences themselves are designed to flow outward to pull your eye toward the horizon and the water?
They are.
Which leads us perfectly into the next layer of the project. When you step out of that beautifully appointed stone and timber private space, what do you find in the shared environment?
The amenities.
Yes, the brochure leans heavily into the concept of resort-style living.
It does. And what's fascinating here is how the developer has structured a highly cohesive amenities ecosystem.
Ecosystem is a good word for it.
It is very easy to just read a list of amenities off a brochure, but
Yeah.
that really misses the structural intent of the space.
Right.
This ecosystem is designed around a specific balance of, as the developer terms it, movement and pause.
Movement and pause. Let's test that concept.
Yeah.
How do you actually separate the high-energy movement from the serene pause within a single residential complex?
It's all about zoning.
Because if I'm trying to find my calm, I really don't want to hear a high-intensity sports match happening 20 feet away, you know?
Of course not. That is accomplished through careful spatial zoning. Let's actually look at the inventory of amenities.
Okay, let's run through them.
You have direct beach access, an infinity pool, a clubhouse, a fully equipped gym, a dedicated fitness and yoga studio, indoor and outdoor kids' play areas, a paddle court,
A paddle court, nice.
a beach volleyball court, a BBQ area, a games room, and an elegant lobby lounge.
Okay, so a paddle court and a beach volleyball court are inherently loud, high-energy spaces.
Very much so.
But a yoga studio and a lobby lounge require near-total silence. How are these functionally integrated without ruining each other?
By utilizing the natural topography and the physical mass of the buildings as buffers.
Oh, smart.
The high-energy zones, the paddle court, the beach volleyball, the active outdoor kids' play areas are geographically separated from the serene zones.
So the yoga studio and the lobby lounge are insulated.
Exactly. They're designed to look outward toward the gardens of the sea, completely insulated from the kinetic energy of the sports courts.
And what about the clubhouse?
The clubhouse acts as a central transition node between these two states of being.
Okay, let's paint a picture of a hypothetical day navigating this ecosystem, just to really visualize it.
Sure, let's walk through it.
You arrive back at Palm Central, and the signature drop-off sets the tone immediately. Lush, curated gardens, soft architectural lighting, leading you into this quiet, elegant lobby lounge.
Right, that is your transition from the outside world.
Exactly. Then the next morning, you wake up and head down to the yoga studio. You are doing your session while looking out through massive glass panels at the greenery and the water.
That represents the ultimate execution of pause.
Right. Then, as the day progresses into movement, you transition to the paddle court for a match, or you utilize the gym.
And the kids have their own dedicated indoor and outdoor play areas.
Which is huge, meaning family logistics are seamlessly handled without overlapping with the adult wellness spaces.
It's very well thought out.
In the afternoon, you move to the infinity pool, which is strategically positioned to overlook the azure waters of the Arabian Gulf.
And as the day winds down, you transition to the elegant clubhouse, or the BBQ area for a social evening, or maybe the games room.
And we must emphasize that all of this is anchored by direct beach access.
Yes. In island real estate, the beach is not a destination you drive to. It is the physical edge of your residential footprint.
The connection between the home, the gardens, and the sea is totally unbroken.
And let's tie this back to the most important metric we discussed earlier.
The density.
Density. You have this massive ecosystem of amenities, a private beach, an infinity pool, sports courts, wellness studios, a clubhouse.
Yeah.
And it was all shared by only 222 residences.
Wow. That really is the true definition of resort-style living. It's not simply about having the facilities, it's about having the space to actually enjoy them privately.
Exactly. When the ratio of amenities to residents is this high, you eliminate the friction of overcrowding that ruins the concept of calm.
We have built up an incredible, vivid picture of this island lifestyle.
We have.
The macro location bypassing the gridlock, the stepped architecture prioritizing light and privacy, the natural stone and timber interiors, and the perfectly zoned amenities ecosystem.
It's a very compelling proposition.
But now it's time to look at the numbers.
A reality check.
What does this level of understated luxury on the spine of Palm Jebel Ali actually cost?
This is where we shift from spatial analysis to objective financial analysis. We have the official starting prices in UAE dirhams, or AED.
Right.
It is critical to look at these numbers as benchmarks for the current Dubai waterfront market.
I am going to walk through these tiers carefully because the progression of the pricing tells a story about the target demographic, I think.
It absolutely does. Let's hear them.
Starting at the entry point of the project, the one-bedroom apartments start from 2.7 million AED.
Okay, 2.7 million for a one-bed.
Moving up a tier, the two-bedroom units start from 4.3 million AED.
Got it.
And if you need that extra logistical space, the two-bedroom plus maze room starts from 4.9 million AED.
So those three formats really form the foundational tiers of the project.
Who do you think they cater to?
They cater primarily to couples, young professionals, or smaller family units looking for a primary residence. Or maybe a highly usable pied-à-terre on the island.
Exactly. Then we step into the larger family formats and the pricing shifts accordingly.
Let's go through those.
The three-bedroom residences start from 7.5 million AED.
Okay.
The expansive four-bedroom units jump to a starting point of 12.4 million AED.
Right.
And finally, those massive 4- and 5-bedroom townhouses start from 14.9 million AED.
These specific AED starting points are highly competitive when you index them against existing prime waterfront supply in Dubai. But the purchase price is really only one half of the financial equation.
What's the other half?
When evaluating how a developer positions a project, the payment structure is equally, if not more, important.
And this is where our source deck gets incredibly specific and honestly very interesting from a strategic perspective.
It really is.
We are looking at an estimated construction completion, the handover date of September 2030.
That is essentially 4 years away.
4 years. To bridge that construction timeline, Nakheel has instituted highly specific payment plans.
Plural. Payment plans.
Right, plural. Because they didn't just issue one blanket plan for the whole building, they split it based on the type of unit you were buying.
This is the most crucial piece of financial engineering in the entire project, honestly.
Why would a developer split the payment plan? Let's look at the exact mechanics of these two structures.
Let's break them down.
Okay, let's look at the first structure. This applies to the smaller units, the one-bedroom, the two-bedroom, and the two-bedroom plus maid units.
Okay.
You start with a standard 20% down payment upon booking.
Standard.
Then you have a series of staggered installments paid during the construction phase.
Right.
Finally, you have a final payment due on handover in September 2030. For these smaller units, that final payment is exactly 30%.
So 70% of the total asset value is paid during the construction timeline, and the remaining 30% is due upon completion.
Yeah.
That is a fairly standard off-plan structure. Now, how does that contrast with the larger premium units?
The second plan applies to the premium family formats. The 3 bedrooms, the 4 bedrooms, and the townhouses.
Okay, the big ones.
Again, you start with that 20% down payment on booking. You still have staggered installments through the construction years. But your final payment on handover in September 2030 jumps up to 40%.
That 10% difference on the final handover payment is a massive strategic indicator.
Really? 10% doesn't seem like that much.
Think about it. Why does a buyer of a 14.9 million AED townhouse get to hold on to 40% of their capital until handover, while a 2.7 million AED one-bedroom buyer only holds on to 30%.
It has to be about financing, right? It's about how these different buyers are sourcing their capital.
Precisely. By weighting the final payment heavier at 40% for the 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, and townhouse units, the developer is actively acknowledging the financial profile of the buyer.
Oh, I see.
These larger premium units are heavily targeted at end users, established families who are looking for a primary or long-term secondary residence.
And an end user family is much more likely to use a traditional bank mortgage to fund the final purchase.
Exactly. Whereas an investor buying a one-bedroom might be paying cash across the construction timeline.
That makes total sense.
A 40% handover payment aligns perfectly with standard end-user mortgage qualification thresholds in the UAE.
So it makes it easier for them to get a loan.
Yes. It allows these family buyers maximum flexibility to arrange their financing upon the actual completion of the property in 2030. The developer is essentially easing the cash flow burden on the families during the 4-year wait to incentivize community building.
That is brilliant. It aligns the payment structure entirely with the likely financing route of a family buyer.
It's very smart structuring.
Which brings us to the ultimate reality check of this entire project. We need to talk about the investment case and the long-term horizon.
Right.
And I have to play the skeptic for a second here because we cannot ignore the timeline.
Please do. Critical analysis requires us to look at the friction points.
September 2030. Let's be brutally honest. 4 years is a long time to wait for a home.
It is.
You are tying up 20% of your capital today and making continuous installment payments for years for a building and an island that are still under construction.
Right.
In a global economy that moves at light speed, who is this project really for?
It is a substantial timeline, and you really have to view that timeline as a natural, intentional filter for the market.
A filter.
Yes. Because of the long horizon to this September 2030 handover, this project is rather not for a quick flick.
So if I want to buy and sell in 6 months?
If your real estate strategy relies on short-term turnaround and immediate liquidity, the timeline here simply does not align with that goal.
So we are completely filtering out the short-term speculators.
Yes. This project is structurally and financially built for long-term ownership.
Okay.
The target audience consists of buyers looking for a lifestyle residence, specifically in a family format, who are comfortable with a long-term waterfront living ownership horizon.
But what about the purely analytical investor? The person who isn't necessarily going to live in it but wants to park capital. Does a 4-year wait make sense for them?
Looking at the investment case objectively, the project may have potential, and it could be very interesting upon the successful realization of the Palm Jebel Ali master plan.
Could be interesting. You're being very careful with your words.
We have to be. It requires patience. The core of the investment thesis here does not rely on guaranteed immediate price spikes. It relies entirely on the mechanics of scarcity.
The boutique aspect we discussed earlier, the 222 units.
Precisely. A boutique format of true beachfront residences offering resort-style living with direct beach access on a highly anticipated new island. That is a highly specific asset class.
Right, there won't be many like it.
As the wider island develops, the supply of this exact type of low-density, premium waterfront product may remain limited.
Because developers usually want to maximize density to maximize profit.
Usually, yes.
By capping it at 222 units, Nakheel is creating an artificial scarcity in this specific zone of the spine.
That limited supply is exactly what long-term investors are calculating when they look at a 2030 handover. You aren't just buying the square footage. You are taking a calculated position on the future scarcity of boutique waterfront assets in Dubai's expanding southern corridor.
It really is a commitment to a multi-year vision then. You're committing to the idea that by September 2030, this central spine will be the vibrant, fully realized core of a city-scale destination.
Yes, that's the bet.
It's a fascinating synthesis of two very different mindsets, actually.
How do you mean?
Well, on one side, you have the deeply emotional appeal of the architectural concept, a calm called home.
Right.
The tactile nature of the timber and stone, the infinity pool looking over the Arabian Gulf, the stepped architecture mathematically ensuring your privacy and light.
It's a very emotional sell.
Exactly. And on the other side, you have the deeply rational, calculated commitment of a 4-year timeline.
With highly structured payment plans split between 30% and 40% handover ratios.
Right. And a macroeconomic bet on the successful expansion of Dubai toward DWC Airport.
Real estate at this level is the intersection of urban planning, spatial philosophy, and long-term financial structuring.
Let's quickly retrace the exact path we've taken today just to solidify these mechanics for everyone listening.
Good idea.
We started by placing Palm Central private residences on the map.
Specifically anchoring it on the central spine of Nakheel's massive Palm Jebel Ali master development.
And we challenged the idea of island traffic. We discovered that this location strategically positions residents south of the most congested traffic flows of central Dubai.
Away from the main congested routes, which is evidenced by the travel times. 23 minutes to Blue Waters Island, 27 minutes to Mall of the Emirates.
And critically, just 25 minutes to the expanding DWC airport hub. From that macro location, we zoomed into the architecture itself. We analyzed how a boutique scale of just 222 units spread across 3 buildings protects the concept of calm.
We broke down the geometry of the stepped architecture too, proving that it isn't just an aesthetic choice, but a functional tool to maximize natural light and preserve uninterrupted sea views.
While protecting neighborly privacy.
Yes.
We then stepped inside the actual unit formats, from the 1 to 4 bedroom apartments to the exclusive 4 and 5 bedroom townhouses.
Noting the deliberate exclusion of penthouses to focus on family utility.
We examined the material board, defining understated luxury through the use of natural stone, warm timber joinery, and glass, rather than loud, reflective surfaces.
We mapped out the resort-style amenities ecosystem, understanding how spatial zoning separates the movement of the paddle court and gym from the pause of the yoga studio and lobby lounge.
All anchored by that vital direct beach access.
And finally, we decoded the financial engineering, starting from 2.7 million AED for a one-bedroom, scaling up to 14.9 million AED for a townhouse.
We analyzed the strategic brilliance of the dual payment plans, explaining why a 40% handover payment in September 2030 perfectly positions the larger units for end-user mortgage financing.
Right. We established that this is an asset strictly tailored for long-term ownership and end-user families, requiring a multi-year horizon rather than short-term speculation.
It's a massive amount of data to process, but, if you are someone who thinks in multi-year horizons, this is exactly the kind of structural, objective analysis you need to be doing.
Absolutely. When you look past the glossy brochures and the marketing volume, the true long-term value of any real estate project is always found in the quiet mechanics of its design and financial structure.
I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder, something that builds on everything we've dissected today.
What's that?
We've talked about the mathematics of terrace sightlines, the traffic flows bypassing central Dubai, and the strategic financing of a 2030 handover.
We have.
But think about the human element at the center of all this. When a developer has the luxury of designing an entirely new island ecosystem from the ground up, when they can meticulously control the balance of natural light, the texture of the stone, and the proximity to the water right outside your door,
Yeah.
how might that physical space fundamentally change the way a family interacts over generations?
That's a deep question.
Right. Can the geometry of calm actually engineer a calmer life? Something to think about.
Indeed.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the details, keep looking past the marketing speak, and keep your eyes on the bigger picture.
We'll see you next time.